The silent pact. The wind howled outside, rattling the window panes of the old house. Ethan sat on the floor of his dimly lit bedroom, surrounded by scattered toys that seemed untouched for weeks. He was 8 years old today, but there had been no celebration, just the sound of rain pounding against the roof like a persistent drum. It was as if the world outside knew something was amiss. His mother, Sarah, paced anxiously in the kitchen, peeking through the doorway every few seconds. She sighed, rubbing her temples, murmuring soft prayers under her breath. Doctors had come and gone, each one shaking their heads as if her son were a puzzling riddle they couldn't solve. Not a word from him in 8 long years. It was a silence that weighed heavily on her heart, a silence filled with unspoken words and unasked questions. "Ethan," she called softly, her voice barely above a whisper, hoping he'd hear her despite the storm. "Are you all right, sweetheart?" A low, intermittent thud echoed from his room, the sound of a small object dropping to the floor. Sarah's heart raced as she stepped into the room, the light flickering as the electricity struggled against the storm. And there he was. Ethan sat perfectly still, his wide eyes reflecting the flickering shadows that danced across the walls. For a moment, he appeared lost in a trance, his fingers tracing an invisible pattern on the rug beneath him. "What are you doing, honey?" she asked gently, kneeling beside him, her heart aching at the sight of her son's unchanged, innocent face. But just as she was about to reach out to him, he turned to her with a gaze that was unervingly focused. Deep, dark eyes that seemed to hold more than the simple innocence of childhood. "Malachi," he whispered, his voice soft yet clear. The name hung in the air like a thunderclap, and Sarah felt a chill creep up her spine. "What did you say?" she asked, leaning in closer, her breath catching in her throat. "Malachi," Ethan repeated, and this time, a small grin spread across his face, but it was a grin that didn't reach his eyes. It was as if a curtain had been pulled back, revealing a glimpse of something far more sinister. The lights blinked out for a heartbeat before returning, casting the room in a gloomy half-light. The shadows shifted, and for just an instant, Sarah thought she saw a dark figure lurking just beyond the wall, a silhouette that seemed to mirror the very essence of dread. "Ethan," she hesitated, the weight of his words settling in her chest. "Who is Malachi?" Ethan's expression transformed. The playful innocence melted away to make room for something chilling. "He talks to me," he said, and with each word, an unnatural cold filled the room. "He knows about the darkness." The usually heated air turned frigid, and Sarah shivered as she felt the temperature drop. "Well, what does he say?" She struggled to keep her voice steady, her mind racing through the folklore she had learned from the story-tional videos. Tales of demons and dark entities, of children being corrupted by whispers in the night. But Ethan merely smiled, tilting his head as if listening to a distant melody only he could hear. "He says it's time for you to know," he whispered, the words seeping into Sarah's bones, entwining itself with her fears. "He shows me the past." As the storm outside raged on, it became abundantly clear that the silence that had enveloped Ethan for so long was over, replaced by his newfound voice. A voice that would unearth the horrors hidden within their family's history and awaken the restless spirits that longed to escape. That IT was late, the glow of the night casting shadows that seemed to inch closer, wrapping around Sarah as she sat in the dim living room, a heavy book in her lap. The diary she had found in the attic, yellowed and frayed, had transported her into her family's dark legacy, an entanglement of rituals and demonic lore that sent shivers down her spine. Ethan was upstairs, his soft whispers drifting down the hallway like a mournful tune. She had heard him speaking to Malachi for hours. It was as if the storm had conjured the very entity his grandfather had once described. Her heart pounded in her chest as fear clawed at her thoughts, a frantic dance of motherly instinct battling against the supernatural knowledge she was beginning to absorb. Suddenly, the whispers stopped. "Ethan," she called instinctively, her voice echoing in the heavy silence. The air felt charged, electric, and she couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted. An uneasy knot twisted in her stomach as she slipped the diary into the drawer of the coffee table, shutting away the darkness it contained. Rising to her feet, she crossed the floor and climbed the stairs, the creaking wood underfoot sounding like ominous warnings. As she reached the top, she glanced toward Ethan's room, the door slightly ajar, a sliver of light spilling into the dark hallway. Tentatively, she pushed it open, her heart racing. What awaited her inside? Ethan sat on his bed, his back to her. The shadows played tricks with her vision, elongating the contours of his small frame. "Ethan," she whispered, stepping closer. His head turned slowly, and his eyes glimmered with an unnatural light. "He wants to show you," he said, his voice strangely flat, devoid of the warmth she had always known. "Show me what?" The air felt thick, and she fought to hold her ground as her instincts screamed for her to flee. "Everything." Again, that chilling smile. A child's face twisted into something more ancient, sinister. At that moment, the light flickered wildly, casting long, distorted shadows against the walls. For a fleeting second, Sarah thought she saw a figure standing just behind Ethan, an outline cloaked in darkness. It vanished as quickly as it had appeared, but the sense of something watching, something waiting, clawed at her mind. "What does Malachi want?" she pressed, her voice barely above a whisper. "He wants to play." Ethan's words dripped with a sweetness that felt oddly poisonous. He rose from the bed, gliding towards her with an eerie smoothness, his steps silent against the wooden floor. "No games, Ethan. We don't play with things we don't understand," she replied, her heart pounding fiercely as she battled against the growing dread in her chest. "But I understand him," Ethan said, tilting his head to the side, as if trying to see inside her thoughts. "He says I'm special. He says you need to stop being afraid." Sarah shook her head, stepping back as the shadows seemed to reach for her. "What do you mean, special?" "Ethan, you don't have to listen to him. He says he can help us help you," he insisted, his voice eerily calm, as if he were suddenly no longer the boy she knew. A sudden chill filled the room, and Sarah's breath froze in the air. "What do you mean?" she asked again, this time desperation creeping into her tone. "Help us how?" Ethan grinned wider, and for the first time, it looked like something twisted and dark, a reflection of a child's innocence stripped away by something far more sinister. "He wants to let you see," he said, pointing towards the open window where a gust of wind surged through, carrying with it the scent of rain mixed with something foul. "See what?" she demanded, feeling the walls close in around her. "Everything we've lost," he whispered, and in that instant, a cacophony of voices filled the air, the sound of cries, laughter, and the crackle of flames. Shadows began to swirl above Ethan's head, coiling like smoke around a flickering flame. "Ethan," she reached for him, her motherly instinct surging to the forefront, fighting against the supernatural pulse that gripped them both. "You need to come back to me." But as the shadows thickened, it became all too clear. Malachi was pushing against the boundaries, and with each moment, the darkness threatened to engulf her son entirely. The air in the room crackled with energy, the shadows swirling with a life of their own. Sarah's heart raced as she stepped back, every instinct screaming at her to protect her son. "Ethan, please listen to me. We can find help. We don't need Malachi." But Ethan's expression had shifted, his features growing more somber. "You don't understand," he replied, his tone suddenly wise beyond his years, each word tinged with a weight that felt unnatural for a child so young. "He knows things, Mom. Things about you, about us." "Things about what?" "About our family. about the suffering we've faced. She could feel the room closing in, the walls vibrating under the weight of her own fears and doubts. The more she fought it, the stronger Malachi seemed to become. Yes. Ethan nodded. He says it doesn't have to be like this, that we can uncover everything that's been hidden. What do you mean? Her voice trembled, the strength seeping out of her. What's been hidden, Ethan? What are you saying? The things we've lost, he murmured, his gaze distant. He says he can help you remember, help you forgive, but you have to trust him. An icy dread slithered through her. Forgive what? Forgive who? She felt like she was walking a tightrope, one misstep sending her tumbling into madness. But Ethan's eyes darkened, shadows pooling beneath them. You have to stop running, Mom. You can't keep pushing the past away. At that moment, the light flickered violently, plunging the room into darkness. Sarah felt something shift behind her, a rustling noise just out of sight. She turned swiftly, but it was just the storm raging outside, rain pounding against the window with a ferocity that echoed the chaos inside her mind. Don't look away. Ethan's voice was sharp, cutting through the storm's roar. If you look away, he'll take me. She spun back to him, her expression fierce. No one is taking you. Do you hear me? You are my son, and I will protect you from this. Protect me? He laughed, a childlike sound that transitioned into something hollow, echoing with Malachi's influence. I need to understand what he wants, Mom. He says I'm meant for more than this, more than you. Each word felt like a pinprick, digging deeper into her heart. What does that even mean? She gripped her trembling hands, fighting against the surge of panic rising within her. Mom, you've been scared for too long. Malachi can show you the truth. And with that, Ethan raised his palm, and shadows erupted from him like smoke, curling in delicate tendrils that reached for Sarah. She stumbled backward, her back pressed against the wall as the shadows flickered under the refrigerator's light. A figure began to form within the darkness, a swirling mass that gradually took shape, a visage that felt both familiar and terrifying. Do not resist, Sarah, the shadow intoned, its voice echoing with an otherworldly resonance, deep and resonant, more a vibration than a sound. All you seek is within your reach. Open your mind, and I will unveil the secrets you bury deep. Get away from him, she screamed, but the words felt inadequate. They trembled on the brink of her lips, barely escaping with any force. The figure smiled, its features obscured by shadow, but she felt a cruel satisfaction radiating from it. He is eager to learn, Sarah. He is destined to be my vessel. He carries within him the bloodline of those who came before. Stop it, Sarah shouted, fury igniting within her as it unleashed a rush of adrenaline. You will not take him. Ethan's eyes flickered again, a flash of confusion overshadowed by the enchanted darkness. Mom, stay away from him. She slammed her palm against the wall for support, her heart hammering wildly. Determination surged within her, like a tide pushing against the encroaching darkness. Yet before she could say another word, a sharp gust of wind rushed through the room, extinguishing the refrigerator light. They were cloaked in darkness, and she felt the weight of the figure closing in, the air thick with its presence. Your fears anchor you, Sarah, but they do not have to, the shadow whispered, an insidious promise laced within its tone. Trust the boy, and he will lead you to liberation. No, she cried, forcing herself to stay in the moment, pushing against the rising tide of uncertainty. You are not his master. In that instant, a flicker of light burst back to life, illuminating the room. Ethan standing tall, but unsteady, shadows swirling around him like a tempest, his little body caught in the crossfire between her fierce love and the seductive pull of something ancient and dark. Ethan. She reached out, And for the first time, she recognized the true essence of her son within that moment of chaos. Listen to me. You are more than this. Fight it, baby. Fight him. The shadows momentarily wavered, as if struggling against her words, and Ethan's expression shifted from confusion to clarity. Mom, But before he could finish, the shadow lunged, an ethereal hand stretching towards him, reaching for something that lay dormant inside. No! Sarah shouted, a primal cry spilling from her lips as she stepped forward, breaking through the darkness, wrapping her arms around Ethan as the shadow recoiled. Together, they became a beacon of defiance, a surge of love that illuminated the room, casting the darkness into retreat. I am your mother, and I will always fight for you, she declared, holding him tighter. Feeling the warmth of his small body fueling her strength, as the shadow writhed and twisted, the grip of Malachi faltered, and for the first time, she felt the tide begin to turn. The light pulsed rhythmically as Sarah held Ethan close, their hearts hammering in synchrony against the encroaching darkness. The shadow writhed and twisted, battling against the glowing aura created by their shared defiance. Malachi's voice echoed through the room, laced with a mix of fury and disbelief. No, it bellowed, a low growl that reverberated within the walls. You cannot take him from me. With a surge of adrenaline, Sarah focused all her strength and determination, pouring her love for her son into her words. Ethan is not yours. He belongs to no one but himself and to me. The resolve in her voice shattered the oppressive darkness like glass, sending shockwaves through the air. For a fleeting moment, their shared light flickered brightly, illuminating aspects of the shadow that had once seemed imposing and all-consuming. Ethan's eyes widened with clarity, the haze of darkness lifting as he turned to look at his mother. Mom, I remember, he stammered, his voice wavering with emotion. Remember what? She asked, concern flooding her expression. What do you remember? Everything Malachi showed me about the family, the past, about the darkness. He blinked rapidly, sweat beading on his forehead, and shook his head as if trying to clear a fog from his mind. He wanted me to see it all, to understand it. But I don't want... Sarah squeezed him tighter, her heart swelling with relief and pride. You're strong, Ethan. Stronger than that thing. In that moment, the intensity of their light shifted, growing brighter until it seemed to push against the dark. The swirling shadows writhed and recoiled, the figure of Malachi dissipating into wisps of smoke, its insidious whispers growing faint. Your connection with the past is a gift, Ethan. It does not bind you. It makes you someone new, she urged him, reinforcing his resolve. The darkness shook, faltering under the weight of their love and shared strength. You think you can defy the darkness? Malachi bellowed, but his voice was starting to fade. You will regret this moment. But Sarah held her ground, refusing to let fear take root. They were not alone. You cannot hurt us anymore. We choose to walk in the light of our truth. She felt Ethan nod against her, and it buoyed her spirit. With a final, ferocious roar, the darkness dissipated completely, leaving the room washed in a soft, warm glow that felt like the dawn breaking after a storm. Silence enveloped them, a soothing balm that washed away the lingering echoes of Malachi's presence. As the shadows receded, Ethan pulled away first, his eyes wide with fear, but also a newfound understanding. I don't feel him anymore, he exclaimed, astonishment unspooling within him. Sarah brushed her hands across his shoulders, grounding him in the present. You did it, Ethan. You fought back. We fought back. Tears brimming in her eyes, she sank down to sit beside him on the bed. I was so scared. I've never faced anything like that before. I was scared too, he admitted, his voice still shaky. But there was something about your words. they felt powerful, like they could push the shadows away. "That was your strength, Ethan," she said, wiping a tear from her cheek. "You were so brave. Together, we made it through." They sat quietly for a moment, soaking in the remnants of their shared victory. But as the stillness settled around them, the weight of reality returned. The battle against darkness wasn't over. The remnants of Malachi hung in the corners of her mind, a reminder that chaos often lurked just beneath the surface. "Mom?" Ethan's small voice interrupted her thoughts, tinged with worry. "What happens now? Is Malachi gone?" "I don't think he's gone for good," she confessed, her hands trembling slightly as she clasped her son's. "But we don't have to be afraid. We can fight together. If we stand strong, we can protect each other, even from the things in the dark." "What if he comes back?" Ethan asked, his brows knitting together in concern. "We'll be ready," she assured him, conviction hardening her resolve. "And we'll seek help. We need to learn everything we can about what we're dealing with, about Malachi and the past likes to resurface. We'll uncover the truth together, no matter how painful it may be." Ethan swallowed, a flicker of determination igniting within him. "Can I learn everything? Can I learn how to be strong like you?" "Yes, my beautiful boy. You can. And I'll be right by your side every step of the way." As the rain began to taper outside, the scent of damp earth and fresh air filtered through the window, mixing with a sense of renewal that blossomed between them. In that moment, Sarah felt a profound connection re-establishing itself, one that transcended the darkness they had faced. They were not just mother and son. They were warriors, bonded not only by love, but by the resilience that had begun to stitch them closer together. As long as they upheld one another, she knew together they could confront whatever came next. "Let's figure this out," Sarah said, pulling Ethan close in a warm embrace. "Whatever it is, we'll face it as a team." He nodded against her shoulder, his breath steadying, while Sarah felt the flicker of hope igniting once more. Though the road ahead might be fraught with shadows, they had forged a light, a beacon that would guide them through the most tumultuous storms. The following days unfolded in a quiet but tense rhythm. The storm outside gradually subsided, the rain giving way to crisp, clear skies, yet the atmosphere inside their home felt charged, like the calm before another tempest. Sarah and Ethan spent hours discussing their next steps, poring over old family documents and journals left behind by relatives they hardly knew. It was during one of those afternoons, sitting cross-legged on the living room floor surrounded by dusty books and faded photographs, that Ethan stumbled upon something curious. "Mom, look at this," he exclaimed, pointing to a yellowed passage in an old journal. Sarah leaned over, her heart racing with curiosity. "What is it, baby?" He read aloud, his young voice quivering with excitement. "It's from Grandma's journal. She wrote about the family's history with darkness." She mentioned a name. He paused for effect. "Malachi." An icy chill crept down Sarah's spine. "What did she say?" "This part here." Ethan uncrossed his legs and turned the page gently, careful not to tear the delicate paper. "She wrote about an entity named Malachi who haunted our family for years. She thought he was a myth, but he wasn't. She said he could take over the minds of the ones he touched. He feeds on fear and sorrow." Sarah felt memories of her own childhood surge back, tales whispered among family members, hushed and half-remembered. "I thought they were just stories, old wives' tales meant to scare children." "Me too," Ethan agreed, his brows furrowing as he read further. "But Grandma said that there might be a way to break the cycle." Her heart raced at the prospect. "What does it say?" "We need to know." Ethan glanced down, scouring the lines as he searched for the answer. "Here," he said, tapping his finger on a passage that looked crucial. "It talks about a gathering of others like us, people who faced the darkness and found a way to fight back. They found strength in each other. Gathering? Where? Sarah leaned closer, her panic mounting but mingling with a flicker of hope. In the woods, near the old chapel, Ethan pointed to a crude drawing of a building that looked weather-worn and forgotten. It's not far from here, but it says they meet only on certain nights during the full moon. Sarah's thoughts raced. Could this gathering be their chance? A way to connect with others who understood? She smoothed the journal's pages, focusing on the words while her heart swelled with the possibility of finding allies. Remember what you said, Ethan. We can't be afraid. A determined nod from her son steeled her resolve. Let's go. We need to find them. That night, as the moon hung full and bright in the sky, they prepared for their journey. Sarah packed her bag with essentials, flashlights, their family journal, and a protective charm passed down from her grandmother, a talisman meant to fend off dark forces. Do you think it will work? Ethan asked as he fastened his jacket, his eyes glinting with a mixture of fear and excitement. I believe it can, she replied. It's not just a charm. It's a symbol of our family's strength. It shows we're not alone in this fight. As they slipped into the darkness, the world outside their home transformed, the moon illuminating their path, casting silver light that felt both comforting and haunting. The woods were dense but familiar, the rustle of leaves whispering secrets and tales of old. After a short hike, they reached the chapel, its silhouette rising against the night sky. Vines clung to its crumbling walls, and the air felt thick with anticipation. Do you think anyone will be here? Ethan whispered, glancing around nervously. They should be. Just remember to stay by my side, Sarah answered, her heart beating in rhythm with the forest sounds. Suddenly, shadows shifted at the edge of the clearing. Figures emerged from the darkness, stepping into the moonlight, an eclectic mix of people, each wearing expressions of seriousness blended with hope. Welcome, a woman said, her voice strong yet gentle. She stepped forward, her long hair flowing like the night itself. I am Claire. We've been waiting for you. Waiting for us? Sarah asked, her voice trembling slightly. Yes. Your family has faced the shadows before. We sensed you would come. Clara's eyes sparkled with an understanding that sent a shiver down Sarah's spine. Many have felt Malachi's influence, but few have dared to stand against him. We need you. Tell us how, Ethan chimed in, his youthful enthusiasm cutting through the tension. Clara smiled, revealing a warmth that encompassed the gathering. Together, we'll share our stories, our experiences. Understanding is the first step. We can't fight shadows alone, but united, our light will be brighter. One by one, the others introduced themselves. Each had their own tale of darkness, a brush with Malachi that had profoundly altered their lives. There was Thomas, a former historian whose family had lost its legacy to Malachi, and Annabelle, a gifted artist who had fought against the despair that threatened to consume her after her family's tragedy. As Sarah listened, each story began to weave a tapestry, a collective struggle against the darkness that spanned generations. They shared rituals and practices, reinforcing the power of connection and trust. Finally, Clara turned to Sarah and Ethan. I felt the pull of darkness in our collective, but none have shown the spirit to resist as fiercely as the two of you. As fear grows, so does the darkness. But as you've shown, the light within will always blaze brighter. Their eyes locked, and Sarah realized that vulnerability being shared among warriors was powerful, like a cleansing flame that exposed true intentions and connections. That night marked the beginning of their transformation. Under the silver moonlight, Sarah and Ethan felt their burdens lighten, shadows losing their edge as they forged kinship with others who refused to bow to fear. As they finished sharing their stories and formed deeper bonds, Clara laid out a plan. We need to face Malachi in a way that he cannot ignore. There's a way to confront him and cast him out together. A wave of determination surged through Sarah's chest. They were on the precipice of something greater than just a fight for survival. This was a battle for hope, love, and a new legacy they would create together. As the pulsating glow of the full moon bathed the clearing in a luminous silver, Sarah and Ethan sat among their newfound companions, eager to map out a plan against the darkness that threatened to engulf them. Clara gathered everyone's attention, her commanding presence radiating authority and comfort. We gather here not just to share our stories, but to forge a path forward, Clara began, her voice steady as she glanced around at the circle of faces. Malachi is cunning. He feeds on our fears and doubts. We must confront him with our collective strength. Thomas, a tall man with kind eyes shadowed by past losses, spoke next. Clara is right. He will try to isolate us to instill fear in crisis. We need to find the source of his power. He cannot thrive in unity. Ethan's eyes sparkled with determination as he leaned closer to his mother, the gravity of their mission settling into a palpable sense of urgency. What can we do to help? There has to be something we can offer. Clara nodded appreciatively. The light you two shared against him was extraordinary. We need to harness that energy and channel it during our confrontation. Sarah exhaled slowly, absorbing the weight of their task. How do we do that? We will create a circle of light, Clara explained. In this circle, we'll gather our combined strength, memories, and hopes, forming a barrier against Malachi's influence. Each person here has a unique gift, an ability to contribute to the light in their own way. She gestured towards Annabelle, the artist. Annabelle has been creating pieces that embody our history, infusing them with resilience. Annabelle stepped forward, showing them a small canvas. The painting depicted a radiant sun breaking through a stormy sky, vibrant colors swirling together. This is more than just art. It's a representation of all our struggles. I want to create a mural that captures the essence of light and hope within our community, a powerful symbol when we confront Malachi. Sarah's heart swelled with pride for the collective. We could use it during the confrontation, a physical reminder of our strength. Exactly, Clara said, nodding enthusiastically. Each of us needs to contribute something that embodies our spirit and intent. When we gather in the chapel under the full moon, we'll bring those symbols together into a circle of light. Our collective heart, our united defiance against the darkness. Throughout the night, team members shared their skills, experiences, and ideas, each one stepping forward to contribute to the greater vision. Thomas offered his knowledge of protective rituals passed down through generations, explaining how certain chants and movements could amplify their energy as they stood together against Malachi. As these ideas circulated, Sarah felt a renewed sense of purpose, but also an acknowledgement of her fears. The enormity of their task weighed on her, yet she drew strength from Ethan beside her. What if it doesn't work? What if Malachi is too powerful? Ethan turned to her, his youthful voice steady. Mom, we've already beaten him once. We could do it again. We all want to fight back. We won't let him take us again. His unwavering conviction enveloped her like a warm embrace. You're right. We've already come so far together. With a renewed spirit, the group continued to discuss strategies until the early morning hours when dawn began to break. Beneath the romance of stars fading into pink morning light, Clara concluded the gathering with a powerful invocation, calling upon their forebears and the strength of the earth that had witnessed their struggles. Let's meet again before the next full moon to finalize our plans, Clara said, her voice resonating with certainty. We will reclaim our lives and our legacy. Together, we can create a light that pierces through even the deepest shadows. As the group began to disperse, Sarah felt a deep sense of connection blossoming within her. They were no longer just individuals bound by fear. They were a community forging a path of hope together. She and Ethan exchanged glances that spoke volumes. Words weren't necessary. They both understood the weight and grace of what they faced in the days that followed. Sarah immersed herself in preparations. She remained focused on gathering supplies and connecting with the other members of the group. Each evening, they met in the woods, forming a close-knit team bound by trust and resilience. Ethan's excitement fueled her sense of adventure, and she encouraged him to express himself through creative pursuits. He decided to write a narrative about their journey, pulling together his thoughts and fears into a story that could serve as a rallying cry against future darkness. Every night, he read aloud to the group, weaving tales of courage amidst their fears, gradually uniting their spirits further. But as the full moon approached, Sarah began to notice a shift. Shadows lingered longer, and whispers coiled around her, teasing edges of doubt that threatened to snuff out the light they had built. One such evening, after an exhausting day of preparations, she found herself sitting alone in her living room, grappling with the growing dread. She glanced at the dark corners of their home, haunted by memories of Malachi and the confrontation they had faced. What if it's not enough? She pondered aloud, her breath hitching with raw vulnerability. Ethan, who had been finishing his story in the other room, entered just in time to hear her. "Mom, are you okay?" She started, but the heaviness of her thoughts spilled over. What if we fail, Ethan? What if he comes back stronger than before? He approached her slowly, his small hand reaching out to cradle hers. "We won't fail. We're not alone, remember? Everyone's counting on us. We have a plan, and you've been so strong throughout this whole thing." His earnest gaze bore into her, unearthing her resolve. With his warmth cradling her fears, she could feel the weight slightly lift. "You're right. We have so much strength in our community. Plus, we have our light." Ethan grinned, his voice rising with excitement. "When we stand together, no darkness can touch us." Hours passed, and the anticipation grew. The night before the full moon, Clara gathered everyone for one final meeting, the air crackling with a potent mix of excitement and trepidation. Lanterns illuminated the chapel, creating a sacred space that held the stories of many as they embraced their collective fears. "We're ready," Clara proclaimed, her arms raised as a call to camaraderie. "When we stand together, we channel our pain, our victories, and our hopes for the future. When Malachi comes, we must remember that he thrives on our fears. We refuse him that power." As members of the group responded with words of encouragement, Sarah felt a wave of gratitude swell within her. This journey had transformed her and Ethan, and through the support of their friends, they felt truly empowered. Under the luminous glow of the full moon, they felt the bittersweet completion of their preparations, ready to forge ahead. Tomorrow would be their stand against darkness, a test of their strength, but one they would face together. The night of the full moon arrived, cloaked in a stillness that felt both serene and electric. The air was thick with anticipation, a palpable energy swirling around the group assembled at the old chapel. The moon hung high in the sky, a luminous sentinel watching over them, its glow illuminating the members of the circle of light as they gathered. Sarah adjusted the protective charm around her neck, feeling its weight, a comforting reminder of her grandmother's strength. Ethan, beside her, was a bundle of energy, his bright eyes scanning the group with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. The sense of purpose that had brought everyone together pulsed in rhythm with the heart of the earth beneath them. Clara stood at the forefront, her voice breaking through the collective murmurs as she called them to order. Tonight, we stand not just as individuals, but as a unified family. She gestured to the symbolic mural that Annabelle had painted, now hung prominently in the chapel's heart. It flickered with candlelight, the sun breaking through dark clouds, a testament to their resilience. We will channel the roots of our pain into something more potent, our light, Clara continued. When Malachi arrives, we will not falter. Together, we'll invoke the strength of all those who came before us, and in that unity, we will find hope. The group nodded, their faces a mosaic of determination and fear. It was time. Their plan started with a conscious breathing exercise, grounding themselves in the present moment, a practice of focus that Clara led with grace. "Close your eyes," Clara instructed, her voice soothing. "Feel the pulse of the earth beneath you. Connect to the beating hearts beside you. We are stronger together." As Sarah closed her eyes, she felt the warmth and energy radiating from those around her, their anxieties swirling into a collective resolve. She thought of the stories shared over the past weeks, the laughter, the tears, and the unbreakable bonds formed in the face of darkness. She pictured Ethan's shining face, his unwavering belief in their mission, inspiring her to push past her fear that I end this moment of connection. The world outside felt distant, as if the chapel was a sanctuary that existed between realms. But then a subtle shift rippled through the group, a chill creeping over them as the wind howled outside, echoing a voice that felt all too familiar. "He's here," Ethan whispered, his voice trembling with trepidation. The mood shifted as shadows danced beyond the chapel walls, the atmosphere thickening, pressing against them like a physical weight. "Take your places," Clara ordered, her voice sharp and steady, cutting through the rising tension. Form the circle of light around the mural. With purpose, the group moved into position, forming a sacred ring, holding hands as they encircled the mural. Sarah and Ethan stood together on one side, their fingers intertwined in a comforting grip. Their hearts beat in tandem, an unspoken pact between mother and son fortified by the trust they had built together. As the first tendrils of darkness seeped into their sanctuary, Clara raised her voice, commanding their focus. "We will light our way through this darkness. Remember who you are and who we are together." Together, they began to chant, a collective medley of voices weaving together words of protection and hope. The air crackled with energy, flickering like the flames of their candles as they poured their hearts into the words, drawing on the strength of their ancestors and the power of their shared experiences. That Malachi's presence began to take form, a swirling mass of shadows that slithered at the edges of the chapel, trying to worm its way into the circle. Sarah felt the hairs on the back of her neck prickle. The darkness felt suffocating, like a heavy fog enveloping their resolve. "Fight back," Clara shouted, her voice unwavering. "Stand firm." With every chant, lights flickered brighter, the colors of the mural radiating warmth and defiance. Sarah felt the protective charm around her neck grow warm against her chest, as if it were resonating with the spirit of her grandmother, urging her to continue. "Ethan," she called, her heart swelling with pride. "Now, bring your story." Ethan stepped forward eagerly, unafraid, recalling the narrative he had crafted in the days leading up to this moment. "In the face of fear," he began, his voice strong and clear, "we rise. Each of us holds the light within, love, strength, and hope. We will not be broken." His words echoed, reverberating through the chapel, empowering the group. The mural seemed to pulse with energy, each heartbeat synchronized with the resolve they shared. Light shimmered, pushing back against the encroaching shadows that festered around them, that Malachi's voice slithered through the air like a hiss, trying to infiltrate their unity. You think you can defeat me? I thrive on your fears. Your stories are weak. But the group pressed on, chanting louder, their voices mingling into a fierce chorus. We are not weak. We are not alone. With each word, Sarah felt a surge of energy coursing through her, swelling like a tide that needed to break free. You are nothing, she yelled, her voice blending with Ethan's. Your power is illusion. We are light. And then it happened. As if triggered by their unwavering belief, the darkness recoiled, jerking back from the strength of their collective light. The chapel illuminated, casting brilliant rays that sliced through the shadows, pushing back against the terror that had gripped them for so long. Malachi writhed, his form twisting in agony as their light enveloped him. The air sparkled with vibrancy, painting a halo around the group as their unified strength surged forth. This is your end, Clara shouted, raising both arms to the sky. We banish you. The mural began to glow intensely, swirling with colors that represented not just their fears, but their triumphs. The laughter, the love, the memories forged in shared pain. Sarah's heart raced. She could feel the lifeblood of their community, the weight of their struggles transforming into pure power. With one final chant, they released the energy, and a beam of light erupted from the mural, piercing through the heart of the darkness. Malachi howled, a sound filled with despair, as the shadow that had haunted their lives began to disintegrate, dissolving into nothingness. As the last remnants of darkness faded, the chapel fell silent, the overwhelming pressure lifting as a new calm washed over the group. They stood there, breathless and shaken, but alive, hearts racing with the realization of their victory. Joyous cries of triumph began to emerge, a ripple of laughter and tears that echoed against the chapel's stone walls. Sarah enveloped Ethan in a tight embrace, her heart full as they reveled in their shared success. Clara stepped forward, a radiant smile illuminating her face. We did it together. We've faced the shadows and emerged stronger. The group erupted into cheers, the sound echoing into the night as the moon above cast a gentler light down upon them. They had transformed from a collection of individuals into a formidable community, a shared strength breaking through the darkness that had once threatened to consume them. Suddenly, Sarah felt a profound shift within herself, as if the shadows had not just retreated, but had also offered her a lesson in resilience. It was not merely about battling darkness. It was about nurturing the light, the connection, and the community that anchored them as they began to gather around the mural. Sharing stories of their triumph and newfound hope, Sarah raised her voice to join the chorus, feeling lighter than she had in years. They had faced Malachi, and together they had prevailed, proving that love and unity could illuminate even the deepest shadows. As the echo of their victory subsided, the group gathered around the mural, still illuminated with the vibrant glow of their combined energies. The air thrummed with excitement and relief, but beneath it, there were whispers of uncertainty and the weight of the journey ahead. We did it, Ethan breathed, a wide grin splitting his face. His eyes sparkled with a mixture of disbelief and exhilaration, reflecting the light of the mural. We really did it. Sarah hugged him close, feeling the warmth of his joy envelop her. Yes, we did. Together. Her heart swelled, not just with sorrow for the battle fought, but with pride for the family they had forged in the flames of adversity. Clara stepped back from the mural, her face illuminated with pride and resolve. This is just the beginning, my friends. We have raised the light, and now we must nurture it. Each of us carries a spark that can't be extinguished. The group began to disperse, chatting and celebrating their triumph. Yet Sarah noticed the flickers of concern in some of her friends' eyes. She turned to Clara, whose gaze was now contemplative as she traced the edges of the mural, a canvas still filled with the remnants of their battle. "Clara," Sarah began, her voice softening as she approached her mentor. "What happens now? I can still feel remnants of what we fought against." Clara sighed, her brow furrowing slightly. "The shadows may have receded, but they leave behind echoes of fear. We must not only celebrate our victory, but also stay vigilant, because darkness can return if we let our guard down." A wave of understanding washed over Sarah. It was true. They had faced Malachi, but there could be others: dissension, remnants of doubt, and fear seeking to reclaim their ground. "Then we should do what we can to heal," Ethan interjected, his voice firm with determination. "We can't let this be a momentary victory. We need to strengthen our bonds." With a smile, Clara nodded, her spirits rising at Ethan's words. "Exactly. We must focus on support, on growth, and on building our community further. This is our new chapter, a moment where we can forge deeper connections." Offering Ethan a gentle nudge forward, Sarah smiled as she watched him gather the group together. "Let's make this a celebration of healing," she suggested, her enthusiasm infectious. "We can share our stories, how we've overcome our fears, and what we've learned." The group, still buzzing with energy, responded eagerly. They formed a circle around the mural once more, their hearts open, ready to share. One by one, they spoke, sharing tales of bravery, vulnerability, and the trials they had faced together, each story illuminating the bonds they had created. Annabelle spoke first, her voice steady despite the tremor of emotion. "For me, this journey has been about finding my voice. I felt so lost before, but now I understand the importance of speaking my truth." Her eyes sparkled as she gestured toward the mural. "We painted a new story that reflects who we truly are." Another member, Lucas, shared his tale of overcoming anxiety that had long haunted him. "When Malachi threatened us, I felt my fears creep back in. But standing here, I realized that fear holds no power when faced with love and unity." Each story built upon the last, weaving the fabric of their shared experience tighter, stronger, an unbreakable tapestry of resilience and hope. As the sun began to rise, casting a golden glow through the chapel's windows, Sarah felt a renewed sense of purpose. They had turned a page together, and the weight of their battle's aftermath now seemed lighter, transformed into a reservoir of strength and promise. Once everyone had shared, Clara raised her hands, her eyes sparkling with determination. "Let us create a new ritual, a promise to each other that we will carry this light forward. Whenever we face shadows in our personal lives or in our community, we will return to this place, to each other, and nurture our connection." The group nodded vigorously, some with tears in their eyes, and others with resolved grins. They clasped hands, forming a chain of light, a living monument to their victory and union. Each member took turns voicing their commitment, an echoing chorus that filled the air with intention. "I will nurture the light within and around me. I will support my brothers and sisters through every shadow. I will stand guard in defense of our community." In that sacred space, under the gentle embrace of dawn, they felt invincible, a collective force born not from singular strength, but from trust, vulnerability, and love. As the last words of commitment faded into the morning breeze, Sarah glanced at Ethan, her heart swelling with pride. He was growing into a remarkable young man, and this journey had transformed both of them. A few moments later, Clara broke the silence with a smile. Now let's plan a feast. We have so much to celebrate. Ethan's enthusiasm bubbled over. I'll take care of the food. We can make it a potluck. Laughter erupted among the group, their spirits buoyed by the promise of friendship and shared meals. They dispersed to prepare, each filled with renewed purpose and joy, a collective step into the future. As Sarah set out to gather supplies for their feast, she felt a shift within her, a newfound determination, a sense of belonging, and an awareness of the ongoing challenge ahead. For in every story shared, in every commitment made, they had forged a new path together filled with strength and possibilities, the BY redefining their understanding of community. They had transformed the darkness they had faced into a guiding light, one that would carry them forward into uncharted territory, armed with hope, resilience, and most importantly, each other as sunlight bathed the chapel in warm hues. The group sprang to life with a renewed sense of purpose. Laughter filled the air as they organized the potluck feast, every member bringing something from their home: fragrant bread, vibrant salads, hearty stews, and sweet treats that reflected their diverse stories and cultural backgrounds. Sarah stood with Clara, who had taken charge of preparing a large batch of herbal tea that would serve as a calming balm for the group. "It's amazing how much has changed," Sarah remarked, her eyes glancing around the chapel, now infused with a sense of joy and community. "Just a few weeks ago, we were shrouded in fear." Clara smiled, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Indeed, but it's in our darkest moments that we discover just how strong we truly are." As the smell of food wafted through the air, Ethan and his friends engaged in a spirited game of charades near the mural, their laughter ringing out like music. Each chuckle was a testament to how far they had come, each playful interaction a reminder that they had emerged victorious, not just against Malachi, but against the fears that had plagued them individually. When the feast was finally ready, everyone gathered at a long table adorned with handmade decorations: wildflowers picked from the meadow, colorful cloths that echoed the hues of the mural, and candles that flickered gently in the soft breeze. Clara stood at the head of the table, raising her cup. "Let's take a moment to honor our journey and the light that each one of us brings to this community," she said warmly. "May we always remember the strength we've found in each other and let it guide us forward." As they clinked cups and offered blessings, Sarah felt a swell of emotion rise within her. "To family," she called out, her smile brightening as she looked at Ethan, "the family that we choose." "To family," the group echoed, their voices rising in harmony as they savored the realization that the relationships they had built were now as vital as the blood ties they once thought defined them. The celebration became a tapestry of stories, laughter, and reflection. Under the flourishes of nature and the harmonious sounds of joy, each member shared their hopes for the future, weaving dreams that intertwined like the threads of a vibrant fabric. As dusk began to settle in, casting a soft glow across the table, Ethan stood up once more, his voice steady and heartfelt. "I want to say thank you to everyone. I never thought I could find such strength or courage, but being here with all of you has shown me that we're stronger than we think, especially when we're together." His words resonated deeply. Each member of the Circle of Light felt the truth of his sentiment, a bond forged through shared struggles and victories, a connection that transcended the challenges they faced. When the last bite was eaten and the last story shared, an air of contentment enveloped them. Clara motioned for everyone to gather back around the mural, united once more. "Tonight, as we celebrate our growth, let's also plant seeds for the future. Each of us has the power to amplify this light beyond our circle. Let's create ways to support others, to build a community that stretches beyond these walls." With a renewed pact of commitment, They each carved a small symbol, drawing inspiration from their experiences, into the earth outside the chapel, a promise to remain dedicated to their own growth while sharing their light with others. The night deepened, stars twinkled overhead, and one by one, they shared their intentions for growth. Sarah spoke of fostering a safe space for people to share their stories, where vulnerability was met with compassion and hope thrived. Clara talked about creating workshops to empower others in their struggles against darkness, teaching skills to help build resilience. That as the final intentions were voiced, a warm wind swept through the grove, rustling the leaves and carrying their promises into the night sky. It felt like a benediction, a reminder that they were not alone, and that their light would continue to grow, not just within them, but in the world around them. That as the gathering began to wind down, Sarah held Ethan close, looking at the faces of the people she had come to love like family. "No matter what lies ahead, we'll face it together," she said softly, her heart swelling with pride. Ethan nodded, a newfound confidence shining in his eyes. "Together," he echoed, his voice a promise. The night faded into a deep silence, but within that quiet was an orchestra of possibilities. They had been through storms and emerged illuminated. With hearts full of hope, the Circle of Light had transformed their pain into strength and forged a community centered on love, unity, and resilience. That as they parted ways, Sarah took a final glance at the chapel, the mural still shining in the moonlight, a beacon of what had been and what was to come. They were bound together not just by circumstance, but by choice, and that bond was indomitable. From that day forward, the Circle of Light stood as a testament to the power of community, a guiding force against the shadows, ready to illuminate whatever challenges lay ahead. In their journey, they found not just a refuge from darkness, but the spark to ignite the light within themselves and others. As the last of the candles flickered and the echoes of laughter faded into the night, the members of the Circle of Light made their way home under a blanket of stars. Each step felt lighter, charged with the joy of shared experiences and the collective strength they had built in the days that followed the celebration. A newfound energy enveloped the chapel and the surrounding town. The Circle harnessed their momentum to initiate outreach programs aimed at bringing light to those who faced their own shadows. They organized weekly gatherings, workshops, and support circles, creating a ripple effect that transformed their community. Ethan, stepping into a leadership role, began to lead sessions designed to help younger kids express their fears and dreams through art. With each mural they painted together, he felt the threads of his past loosen, allowing him to find confidence in his voice. No longer did the shadows of his insecurities bind him. He had become a beacon of optimism for those who felt lost. Sarah found purpose in creating a safe space where people could share their stories. Every Friday night, the chapel became a sanctuary where individuals could allow their vulnerabilities to surface, met with compassion and understanding. The Circle listened, celebrated, and healed together, building relationships that fortified their community against future storms. Clara took her work into the schools, teaching children about mindfulness and resilience. She introduced techniques that encouraged emotional growth, empowering the next generation with tools to combat fear and foster their inner strength. Seeing the children flourish filled her heart with hope, causing her spirit to soar. As time flowed, whispers of the Circle's impact began to reach neighboring towns. People inspired by their message traveled from afar, and soon, other communities began to form their own circles, spreading the light even further. Years later, as Sarah stood in the same chapel, now adorned with vibrant murals representing the lives touched by their efforts, she marveled at the transformation. The walls felt alive with energy, each stroke of paint a testament to countless stories shared, to the fears faced and overcome. Ethan joined her, placing a hand on her shoulder. Can you believe how far we've come? It feels like just yesterday we were fighting to break free from Malachi's shadow. Sarah smiled, the memories washing over her vividly. And look at us now. We've become something more than we ever imagined. We turned our pain into purpose. Just then, a group of children entered, with laughter bubbling at the seams as they ran toward the mural they had painted during one of their recent workshops. Sarah felt warmth fill her heart, knowing the future was in good hands. "Hey, look!" one of the children exclaimed, pointing to a sun symbol they had added. "This is our hope. It will always shine for us." The sun sparkled brightly against the blue backdrop, a reflection of the bond they had all nurtured. Clara entered behind the children, her smile radiant. "I think it's time we celebrate once more. We can host a gathering to honor all the new light we've ignited in our community." Cheers erupted from the children, influenced by Clara's boundless enthusiasm. As they set to work planning the celebration, Sarah smiled at Ethan, knowing it was another opportunity to bring everyone together. Old friends, new acquaintances, and those who had found light in their shared experiences as the preparations began. Sarah felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude wash over her. They had faced darkness, but through it all, they discovered an unbreakable bond, a circle that transcended individual pain, creating not just a family, but a legacy of light that would endure. That night, as the town gathered under the stars, sharing stories of triumph and vulnerability, Sarah took a moment to reflect. The circle of light had grown far beyond their initial fears. They had transformed themselves and their community into a source of hope and strength. And in the heart of it all stood the mural, a brilliant tapestry of their journey, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, their light would always shine through day as the evening deepened. Lanterns cast a warm glow over the chapel grounds, where laughter and music intertwined with stories of courage and unity. Sarah stood amidst it all, watching the circle of light thrive, a testament to their shared resilience. Ethan approached her, his eyes alight with joy. "Can you believe this? The love here is incredible." "It's beautiful," Sarah replied, her heart full. "And it all began when we faced our fears together." One by one, people shared stories of struggle and triumph, each voice weaving a tapestry of hope. Clara's words inspired the crowd to expand their circle, spreading kindness far and wide. Later, under the starlit sky, Sarah, Ethan, and Clara buried a small wooden box beneath the oak tree by the chapel, a symbol of their journey, marked with the words, "From darkness to light." As the night closed, they embraced, their hearts bound by a promise to carry each other's light into the future, inspiring all who sought strength and unity. The circle of light was just beginning to shine.